How we feeling, Miss Ma'am?
Feeling dead inside, but ready to party.
That's exactly how you make it weird.
Here at
Make it weird.
Welcome
To Make It Weird.
the podcast Make It Weird.
Where we make it weird.
It's for you to make it weird.
And we want to make sure that you know that this is Make It Weird.
This is the podcast Make It Weird.
Where we make it weird.
Just FYI.
Yeah, if you didn't know.
Do you know what it is now?
What?
Anyways, welcome. This is a full episode.
It is. We just finished recording a mini.
Yes,
so
we
now
did.
we're recording a full.
And here we are, full of death.
What?
I don't know.
How are you feeling today? You feeling good?
I'm just so good.
You feeling good?
I'm definitely like top of my game. Never been better.
Good.
Yeah, never had more energy levels. Never been so
I can tell in your
happy.
soulless eyes. You look so energized.
Never been less angry.
I want to make a correction from last week.
Let's go.
So I said last week that the Calvinists were anti-slavery, the majority of them. That's not true. I was thinking of the Quakers.
Oh.
Yeah, the Calvinists.
Honestly, so was I. That's really funny.
I had to look it up because I was like, I feel like I'm wrong actually.
Yeah.
So I went home and I looked it up and yeah, apparently Calvinists actually, quite a bit of them saw slavery as a way to like uplift themselves and to bring themselves closer to like godliness or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is too convoluted and racist for me to really give a shit about, so I'm not wasting my energy learning.
the Bible fucking loves slavery, so that checks right out, don't it?
Yeah, I would say so. But yeah, I just wanted to correct that and make sure that we knew.
But the thing is, here at Make It Weird, we don't ever make mistakes. That's like a one in... I mean, that'll never happen again.
For sure. Yeah, no, we're perfect.
Yeah, we're perfect.
We actually practice radical perfectionism.
That's so true. We are also both scientists.
Uh-huh. And historians.
Yeah, we have our PhDs in everything.
Podcastology.
Yeah, podcast history degree.
Yes.
PhD.
I hate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The physical reaction that I just had to that.
Just vomit.
My body wanted to throw up.
Also, pretty huge dick.
No.
No, okay.
So, how was your childhood?
Oh, great. It was good. No,
Have you ever?
I had a very good childhood.
Have you ever talked to people that didn't live anywhere close to you, and you guys had shared experiences of childhood?
Yeah, I think so.
Isn't that weird?
It is strange, yeah.
Do you know why? Or have you ever thought about this or like wondered if there's a word for it?
No, tell me.
Oh, well, of course you haven't, because why would you? It's called childlore.
Oh,
yeah.
That's a cool term. I like that a lot. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about childlore today.
Okay.
So, like, you know, all those funny nursery rhymes or, like, weird games you played as a kid, or the ones where you, like, made fun of Barney or sang about Robin laying an egg. Who taught you that?
Definitely classmates.
Yeah. And who taught them that?
I don't know. We were all in the same class together, I guess. Seemingly, I don't know where that would have come from. I would assume other children they know that are not in that class.
Yeah, like, it was passed to them probably by another kid. And where did that kid learn that from? A sibling, a cousin, and where did they get it from? Et cetera, et cetera. This practice of children sharing their own secret rituals, games, and songs is called childlore. And it's part of why basically all children of a generation, regardless of where they grew up, all share a similar childhood with similar games, songs, and experiences. And actually, the easiest bit of childlore for us to point out is the Barney song. Like, you and I probably both know a version of the Barney song. We went to school hundreds of miles apart. And that means we also probably know two different versions, both created and passed from child to child until it reached us. So, like, the version that I learned was, I hate you, you hate me, let's get together and kill Barney with a 1 shot, 2 shot, 3 shot, 4, no more purple dinosaur.
Yes!
Do you remember yours?
I think I remember that exact one. I don't think I could have recited it just now. I would have needed you to fill in the blanks. But that is exactly. I remember that I hate you, you hate me.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember that part.
What about this one? I hate you, you hate me, Barney died of HIV. We called the doctor, and this is what he said. Sorry, kids, Barney's dead.
Okay, no, that one did not reach me as a child. There's no way that anyone would have let that reach my ears. Oh my god.
So I had never heard that version until I actually saw a thread on Reddit where somebody mentioned this version, and I was like, what the fuck is this? So I looked into it, And I found a paper by this woman, Elizabeth Tucker. It was published in 1999. I don't know if this is like an actual academic paper. It seems more like a college research project.
Okay.
But the information in it is still valuable, and I'm going to utilize it because it's free on the internet. Once again, though, published in 1999. Like, I was hearing these versions of the Barney song when I was in 2nd or 3rd grade in like 2003, 2004.
In 2003?
2003, yeah. In like 2003, 2004. Like, that's 5 years after this is published, and it's still getting passed around. The author of this paper states that these songs peaked in popularity in 1993.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was born in 92.
That blows my mind because, like, that's a decade later, and we're still singing these songs.
That is pretty wild.
Persisted through not just my childhood, but my little brother Austin. He knows a version of the Barney song, and he's 8 years younger than I am.
Quite a bit younger than you.
Yeah, so this is a song. Sorry, continue on.
Is Barney still on television?
I don't know if Barney's still around.
I don't think it is, right?
I don't think so either.
Yeah, I don't think so.
When Demi Lovato and Selena Gomez, when Demi Lovato and Selena Gomez grew up, because they were both on the Barney show.
What?
Selena Gomez and Demi Lovato were both child actors on the Barney show.
Interesting. Wow, that's...
I'm
learning so much about Barney. Okay, continue.
It's a little fun fact there. But this song, made by children and for children, has existed on school playgrounds for around 20 years. I don't personally have any children, and I don't have any close friends that have kids, so I can't say for sure if they're still passing this song around, but I would honestly bet that they are. When writing on the origins of this behavior in children, Elizabeth Tucker says, "The age at which young Barney lovers become Barney haters seems to vary. In most cases, the shift seems to occur around 2nd grade. After getting through the first year of elementary school, children start to look for ways to establish their status in the school's hierarchy. No longer the youngest, they look for ways to assert their superiority to new recruits. Making fun of Barney, the beloved icon of the preschool set, serves the purpose of establishing superiority very effectively." And this rings true from my experience as well. The cool kids hated Barney, then I fucking hated Barney.
Yeah.
Which was a shame because apparently I held a deep-founded love for Barney through my toddler years, according to my mom and my dad.
Aww.
Yeah.
I did too. Yeah.
I
Barney
love
was
Barney.
Big for me. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I had like
really
a bunch of Barney plushes. There's a story that we like flew somewhere and we left a Barney plush in the airport and I like sobbed and sobbed and sobbed.
Barney was big. Like,
yeah.
I really loved Barney. Yeah.
And another like great example of child lore from our childhoods is what I will lovingly refer to as the cool S.
Okay.
Do you even know what I'm talking about?
No.
Do you have a piece of paper? I'll draw it for you. Actually,
you know
what?
Wait, yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. Three lines, three lines. And then you connect it with the...
Yes.
Yeah.
The cool S. Yes. That graffiti-style S that you draw, beginning with 6 lines, 2 rows of 3, and then a series of connecting lines to form a geometric S.
Yes.
Lord knows, I drew it on so many notebooks, notepads, and the margins of my tests, everywhere.
Yes.
But, like, I don't remember who taught me that. I reckon it was, like, a cousin or something, and the children independent of myself were doing this through my school, all in elementary and middle school, too.
It was everywhere. Like, it was graffitied on the school. Like, people were spray painting it on stuff. Like,
it was so persistent.
Yeah.
But, like, what the fuck was that? Where did that come from?
Yeah.
Where, do you know, like, what it is?
Literally no idea.
So, I found an article from Vice. This is what they say. It seems the S has appeared throughout all of North America, South America, Europe, Russia, Asia, and Australia.
Holy shit.
Yeah, some people think that it's a 90s thing. Other reports seeing it as early as the 1960s.
Damn, I absolutely thought it was a 90s thing. The 60s?
Yeah.
Are you...
Yeah. There were theories that it was a symbol of, like, some 80s hair metal band. Other people thought it was the original emblem for the clothing Stussy. Others thought it was an incarnation of the Superman logo, but nobody knew.
Yeah, similar to Superman a little bit.
Yeah. And, like, to this day, nobody knows. We have no idea where this began. But we were engaging in a piece of child lore that is likely older than our parents.
That's so strange.
Right?
That's blowing my mind that it didn't start in the 90s.
Yeah.
Because I absolutely thought that was a 90s thing.
No, same. I thought it was like an early 2000s thing because that's when I was in elementary school.
Yeah. Weird.
Absolutely buck wild. And this idea of no one knowing the origin of these oral histories and traditions of children is something that you'll see a lot when researching child lore. Another great example, which is very good considering the season of the year that we're recording this, is the wonderful Christmas song, Jingle Bells, Batman Smells.
Yes.
There was an animated Batman cartoon that featured this in the late 90s, so you would think that that's where it came from, right? It's not. That's not where it came from. So The Simpsons had their own version in an episode of 1989.
Okay.
And when digging even further, there is actually a clipping from a letters to the editor section of the Independent Press Telegram that features a snippet of these lyrics from, do you want to take a guess?
Let's go back to 70 something.
1966.
Okay, all right. I was pretty close.
Yeah.
But this is destroying, like, you're like, oh, the 90s is so cool. We had so many cool things. You've already taken 2 of them. I'm like, what? Like,
yeah, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So it was popular in California in the mid-60s, around when the Batman TV show started first airing, and kids were just having a hoot. And this spread rapidly as children from military families began moving alongside their parents for their new orders. In 1976, a copy of the Lawton Constitution in 1967, which I'm assuming that's some sort of paper. I didn't find exactly what it was, but I found an article from it. But that references American military brats in Belgium singing this song.
Dang.
The Vietnam War is a direct helper for spreading this.
Oh, that's weird to think about. It makes total sense.
It's crazy.
But,
so this is a little bit of child lore that started in California and like went through the world as a result of that. Because that's another thing when it comes to child lore, especially with songs and rhymes and like things of that sort, is one of the big factors that plays into whether or not they are like it's a tradition that's held and passed along is how catchy it is, how easy it is to remember, and how much fun it is to say. Like, does it have anything that's taboo that adults won't like? If so, like killing Barney, passing that along. And by the way, the article that I found that referenced the Batman Smells jingle was by one of my absolute favorite journalists ever. Sorry, I just have to give him a plug because I love this guy. Robert Evans. He's also the host of the podcast Behind the Bastards, which is incredible. He's a wartime reporter, and he's just a really great investigative journalist. But, like, that's, you know, the more broad, general sense of child lore that I could give is these games that we played, like tag, giving each other cootie shots, playing mermaids in the pool, rock, paper, scissors, etc. No adult taught us that.
No,
it was passed down to us from other kids.
Yes.
And we passed it along to other kids.
And it was so, like, if you don't know this thing, like, you're so fucking uncool.
Yeah. And, like, no teacher or book showed us this stuff. No one sat us down to say, hello, children, here's how you play tag. And these games grow and change. Rules are added and removed, and we play. Or we collect. We barter and bargain with each other. And these interactions are also what help us grow and understand our surroundings and the world around us. So my school, in regards to, like, bartering and trading and stuff, had, like, a small little, like, gift shop that was operated by kids with teacher supervision where you could buy, like, fun pencils and erasers for a couple of quarters. Yeah.
I don't think we had anything like that.
No, but I'm sure you had someplace that you could get school supplies that also had, like, the glitter-wrapped pencils.
Usually that was the book fair.
The Scholastic Book Fair.
Book Fair.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. But, like, the different pencils and the different erasers were more or less valuable depending on how they looked.
Oh, absolutely.
And you would trade them.
And some erasers you weren't willing to actually erase with because they were so valuable.
Oh, yeah. Like, you know those little pyramid cap erasers that you put on the ends of pencils? So my friend from elementary school, Catherine, and I, we actually, well, first of all, I would never buy them. I would find them on the floor.
Floor goblin.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But we would draw, like, little windows and doors on them and make them into houses. And we'd put them on our desk and be like, little fairies or gnomes live there. And it's perfect.
That sounds... Yeah, I definitely drew on those too.
Yeah, like,
I did.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, all of this kind of sounds
It was also
a little...
very satisfying to draw, like, very, like, a soft surface like that with a pencil. Yeah.
100%. But we were, like, kind of, like, fairy obsessed in general. All right, well, she liked fairies. I loved dragons. Dragging these nuts across your chin.
Have we talked about our mutual childhood love for dragons? Because I also loved dragons.
Did you have the Dragonology book?
No, I didn't have the Dragonology book, but my obsession with dragons was there was this specific toy brand that made these very lifelike plastic dragons.
Okay.
And my mom's partner, Carmen, at one point got me this whole set where it had, like, a castle with a moat and everything.
Oh, my God.
And the dragon wings would, like, fly and stuff, but I also was obsessed with drawing them.
Yeah.
And I have this specific memory. I was not cool at elementary school. Boys didn't like me, and I was mean to them whenever they spoke to me because I was nervous and I hated them, but also liked them.
Vibes.
Yeah, vibes.
Me today, honestly.
Literally. But there was one time when I'm an okay artist. Like, I could draw stuff, and I drew a dragon, and this really, like, popular guy came up behind me, and he was like, "Whoa, look at this sick dragon!" And I was just like, me? Like,
That's your sick dragon, dog.
Yeah, so also obsessed with dragons, but didn't have the book on like the lore and everything, but just the aesthetic of it I was really down for.
I loved the Dragonology book. It was like my pride and joy. I thought it was the sickest shit. It had like real dragon skin inside of it. Did you ever look at it?
No. I don't think I ever saw this book.
Cool.
No.
I'll buy it for you.
Please.
I'm not joking. I'll go on to Amazon after I get home and like order it.
If it has like touchable dragon skin,
it has like a couple of
so here for
touchable dragon skin, and then it has like real dragon dust inside of it, which like has magic spells.
That's like the autist's dream.
Oh my god, for real, dude! And it has like a world map where you can fold the flaps open, and it shows you
pop-up or something.
It shows you like the different dragons and where they would be, and it was so cool.
That's incredible.
Oh, and while this isn't a personal story, I found a thread on Reddit. This is the one that made me like get into this story to begin with, just talking about this idea of believing in dragons or believing in fairies. Like, I was convinced that dragons were real.
Oh, sure.
Like, 1,000%. I would go outside and I would stare at the sky. And, like, I would tell my friend...
If How to Train Your Dragon had come out when I was a kid, I would have, like, lost my fucking shit about having a pet dragon.
Well,
like,
the books might have been out by then.
Those were books?
They were books first. And the books are very different from the movie.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so
Toothless.
Toothless in the movie is like huge. In the books, he's like the size of my dog.
It's like a little guy?
He's like 13
pounds. Are the
pounds.
books good?
I liked the books.
Oh, okay.
And
Hiccup
can talk to the dragons.
Oh,
yeah, it's very different. They're
really
cute.
Cool.
They're made for like adolescent kids.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's sweet. Okay, sorry.
It's okay. But this is just like another story about like kids and their desire to believe in something and like this lore that can get passed around and the kids kind of get into it, right? So this is from a Reddit user, Mossy Lass. In 4th grade, we used to play outside in the thin wood strip, and there was a stream. I told all my friends with me that I could see these blue little dudes called bloopies. They went with it, and for like 2 months, we'd go looking for these bloopies, and I'd pretend to find them, and we'd lose our shit. One day, I got to feeling bad, feeling like I was lying to them, and that it'd be out of hand at this point, because we'd been doing this for like 2 months straight, and they were kind of obsessed. I told them the truth that bloopies weren't real, and they fought me tooth and nail that they were real. And I felt like I was in a pickle. So I told my teacher after recess that I made up these teeny tiny things in water called bloopies. And he told me that I was kind of right because there's microorganisms and things called atoms and cells. I was like, what the fuck?
What a sweet teacher.
Yeah. But I guess they carried on even after this kid stopped believing in it and came clean. The other kids kept carrying on with playing. Yeah. And that's the kind of stuff that starts child lore. Yeah. It's just this childlike belief in stuff. And what's interesting too, I was trying to find more of this. I saw a little excerpt and then I could not find the radio show. It was I think it was a CBC radio show that was all about child anthropology. Mm-hmm. And they were talking about you can actually kind of track where certain families from certain areas move to new states or cities in their state, and they bring new child lore with them. The games change, the rhymes change, new stuff gets introduced, and that's how the stories continue to spread.
Dang, that's interesting.
Yeah, right?
It makes total sense when you think about it, but it's not something that you would actually consider.
Absolutely not. Child lore also encompasses monsters. Mm-hmm. Bloody Mary, child lore. Mm-hmm. Candyman, child lore. Candyman was a movie. The movie itself, not child lore, but the way that kids took the Candyman and turned it into, I don't even know what it was. I think ours was like, you gotta look in the toilet bowl and like say the name 3 times and then flush it, and that's something would get you. I don't even remember that one.
I didn't know too much about Candyman. Like, I had an idea. Bloody Mary was a big one, I knew, though, and it legitimately scared me.
We've said her name 2 times now. We can't say it again.
Oh, fuck. Well, at least
I think that counts as a mirror.
Oh, shit. I love the supernatural episode of Bloody Mary. That one is really good. It's like the 1st or 2nd season when it's still very, like, just Monster of the Week vibes. Like,
that was my favorite. I love Monster of the Week.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, early X-Files when it's also, love it.
Yeah, I finished Supernatural up to the point where the story is supposed to end, and then they still had, like, 5 or 6 seasons after that. I ended it there and tried to keep watching, and I was like, no, I think I'm happy with
you're good.
I'm very happy with that, yeah.
So, what happens when the monsters are real, though? When there's something that children don't understand, but they know they should fear. Okay. And when they want to keep other children safe from that monster. The child lore grows. Mm-hmm. So, a long-form article by Linda Edwards from June of 1997 discusses this, titled, Myths Over Miami, The Secret Stories of Homeless Children in Miami. Children look for safety, a sense of ease, and a life of homelessness has children searching for anything to comfort themselves and their friends. One of the telling tales is the Blue Lady. So this is just, this whole article is about lore in Miami that is being spread through the children in homeless shelters. And a lot of it's just, like, the different ways that they understand the world, the different ways that they take the stories that the adults are, like, letting them hear little snippets of and trying to understand it or put it into a way that they can rationalize it in their child brain, right? Okay. So this is a really long article. It's really interesting. I did a little bit more research, and there are some people afterwards that say that some of it might be a little exaggerated. So keep that in mind. I'm just going to pick out a couple of, like, the things that really stood out to me. Okay. So this blue lady is a woman with pale blue skin who lives in the ocean, but she's hobbled by a spell. The demons made it so she only has power if you know her secret name, says Andre, whose mother had been through 3 rehab programs for a crack addiction. If you and your friends on the corner of the street when a car comes shooting bullets and only one child yells out her true name, all will be safe. Even if the bullets tear your skin, the blue lady makes them fall to the ground. She can talk to us, even without her name. She says, hold on. Yeah, like, these kids are living in an area where they are facing dangers every day, and the only way that they can feel any sort of hope is through stories that they're sharing with each other. I know, I'm sorry.
No, it's just bummer. It's a bummer, but it's also so sweet because you can imagine, like, the older kids trying to make the younger kids feel better, and it's like, you know, as a kid, it's like, okay, I have this thing. I've been told this thing will save me, so I'm safe.
And after that, there was another kid who was hearing Andre tell the story of the blue lady, and this blonde 6-year-old kid goes, I've seen her. And a bunch of other kids go, I've seen her too. So these stories these children tell, which are secretive and only told to other children, draw influence from stories around the world. Mm-hmm. Well, they seem to. So La Llorona, which is a Mexican... Have you heard of La Llorona?
Yes.
Okay. A Mexican tale of a woman screaming in the night who takes the souls of young children. There's Bloody Mary. And there's a Santeria ocean goddess named Yamana. And then even Celtic tales and myths. But, quote, while those myths may have some influence on the shelter folklore, the tales homeless children create amongst themselves are novel and are elaborately detailed. They are a striking example of polygenesis, the folklorist term for the simultaneous appearance of vivid, similar tales in far-flung locals. Which is to say, they don't know those stories.
Right.
They're making it up, and it's just crazy that there's a bunch of similarities.
Yeah.
So the children that were in these shelters that were really well-spoken, really articulate, they were held in high regards, and they were kind of like the storytellers that were responsible for sharing these stories with the other kids. These stories spoke of an exiled god ignoring the calls of help from humans. His angels waged war with hell and spirits and demons, not ghosts. Ghost is a baby word for babies. Walk the realm. The kids were even like, we don't say ghosts. Wow. Ghosts are Casper. Yeah. These are spirits.
Wow.
Yeah. Their folklore casts them as comrades in arms, regardless of ethnicity. For the homeless youngsters see themselves as allies of an outgunned yet valiant angels in their battle against a shared spiritual adversary. For them, the secret stories do more than explain the mystifying universe of the homeless. They impose meaning upon it. One story that really struck out to me was about a river that, this one's kind of cracks me up, just because it's kids.
Yeah.
And there's a river that runs through Miami. On one side, oh, I'm sorry, I mixed this up. But anyway, one story that stuck out to me is about a river that runs through Miami. On one side, they have the bad streets, which the demons took over, and the good streets on the other side, which is where the rich people live. And the only thing about that to me is like, and it makes sense, you know, in terms of like a child trying to understand their neighborhood or where they live. But imagine being a kid and you live in the bad streets.
Yeah.
And you are like, well, obviously you internalize that and I'm a demon. I'm bad. If the rich are only the good, like that probably has a lasting impact. They don't talk about that in the article. I'm just kind of thinking about like some of the psychology that I know.
Absolutely, yeah.
There was a 9-year-old who was nicknamed Fat. P-H-A-T-T. They didn't give his first name, just his nickname. Mm-hmm. But he told a story he was given about why Satan hates Miami. A story about Satan hiding amongst the rich while trying to find a hell portal for his demons to enter the world through. He was found out and was tied up under the river at the behest of the rich people. Young Fat later said he saw a vision of his deceased cousin, who told him the rest of the story. As soon as the water touched the devil's skin, it turned a deep burgundy and horse grew from his head. The river itself turned to blood. Ghostly screams of bones of children he had murdered floated from its depths. Just when the angels thought they had convinced the good streets denizens that they were in as much danger as those in the bad streets, Satan vanished through a secret gateway beneath the river. Now he's coming your way, Ronnie warned. You'll need to learn how to fight. Study hard, stay strong and smart, so you can count on yourself. No one else. Never stop watching. Bloody Mary is coming with Satan, and she's seen your face.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
This is so dark for these children.
It is. But, like, that's the reality.
I was so scared of everything. That would have scared me so horribly.
Yeah, and, like, that's the reality for these kids that were living in these shelters. I don't know how it is nowadays. I'm very privileged. I've never had to experience anything like that. But I can only imagine, like, the world is terrifying. Yeah. Even as an adult, it's terrifying. But all of these stories are not horrific. From Fat, again. The secret stories say the angel army hides in a child's version of ethereal Everglades. A clear river of cold, drinkable water runs amongst emerald palms and the grass as soft as a bed alongside. Gigantic alligators guard the compound, promptly eating the uninvited. By the time homeless children reach the age of 12, more or less, they realize that the secret stories are losing some of their power to inspire. They sadly admit there is less and less in which to believe. But this article is genuinely incredible. We'll link it in the notes. It's really good. It's a fascinating read, even if it is a little embellished. And you can tell the author definitely modifies some of the words of the kids. But I think it's just more so because, like, if you listen to a 9-year-old talk, it doesn't matter. Yeah. An eloquent 9-year-old is still going to sound like a 9-year-old. Yes. So I think a little bit of editing is fair.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there is just so much more that I couldn't fit into this. About, like, Bloody Mary, her pact with Satan, why they believe God left them, and, like, all about this war with angels and demons. But I wonder if these stories are still shared in this area now.
Yeah.
Like I said before, I'm fortunate enough. This is never a life that I've ever had to live where I was homeless. So I don't know, but I hope that these children that were in the article that were interviewed, I hope they were able to find the safety and stability that they needed. If not through a strong support system to help give them the resources they need, then through the stories and legends that they shared amongst themselves.
Wow.
So that's Childlore.
That's really cool, really sad, but also that's just such a cool thing. Genuinely, I have never thought about where these stories come from, like why we have these shared experiences, these shared stories, and that article sounds really beautiful.
It was really good. And one of the interesting things, too, in the article, if you, like, open it up and read through it, I can show you. There are some pictures that they had the kids draw that were in the shelters. And some of the pictures depict these legends and these stories, these fears that they have and their experiences. Here's one, but it's the blue woman saving them from a drive-by.
That breaks my heart.
Yeah.
Because it's just such a perfectly childlike drawing.
Yeah.
That looks like something that I would have drawn. It's sad, but it's also a very heartwarming story. Thank you for that. I really enjoyed it.
I'm glad. Yeah, it was definitely a really interesting one to research. It's different than what I usually do, where I, like, tend to have more of a timeline.
Yeah.
It's just kind of more freeform. I don't know.
But like I said, it's something that you don't think about. Like, you have these shared weird lore type stories, things that are cool or whatever. The cool S is still blowing my mind that was not invented, whatever, like didn't come about in the 90s.
That it's from like the 60s.
That's absolutely wild.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Crazy.
I'll probably be able to draw that S until I die.
Oh, I could draw it right now.
Yeah. But that's like imprinted in my brain. On my deathbed, if someone was like, draw a cool S, I'd be like, no problem.
Yeah. On God, for real. She.
Honey, don't do that.
Sheesh.
I hate that so much.
You really? Why?
I don't know. I'm too millennial. I hate how chuggy millennials have become.
I don't think chuggy's a word people use anymore.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying, like, literally
proving my point.
I can't help it. I'm Gen Z by 1 year. Casey is millennial.
Yeah.
96, and I am Gen Z, 97.
Which is funny because he's 4 years younger than me. Like,
yeah. Are you ready?
I'm a Lamborghini. I'm a Hollywood star. I'm a little bit tipsy when I drive my car.
I'm excited to hear your story, so...
Well, guess what?
Huh.
It's a big bummer.
Oh, fuck yeah.
So I am going to cover a true crime story. Have you noticed a trend? I love true crime.
No, what? Why true crime now?
So, I am going to cover a murder. It is a particularly gruesome murder, and it does involve domestic violence. All these things are trigger warnings. Alright, so today, I am going to cover the 2012 murder of Alexandra Kogut. Kogut.
I don't think I know this one.
So, the reason I'm covering this one, it's not funny because of the story, but it's funny because of the situation. So, I was at the dentist getting my teeth cleaned. Our local dentist, there's a hygienist there that I need to start requesting her because she's just the most wonderful person. And the last time I didn't get her, I was upset. So this time I got her again. She's from Charleston, so we got started. Shit. Before she actually started cleaning my teeth, we were talking about Charleston, and she was saying how she was going home, and she was gonna make, like, gumbo and all this stuff. So we got off on a good vibe, and she has a TV in her station, and she was playing Dateline, and there was a murder story being covered, and she and I, like, both were really getting into it, and at one point she finished the cleaning, and we were waiting for the dentist to come in, and we're both just sitting there watching it, and she starts talking about it, and she's like, oh, but did you see it? And I was like, no, the guy said this. And, like, the whole we're just, like, going back and forth.
I love that.
I truly met a murderino. We were having a great time watching this. Yeah. Anyway, so this is why I'm covering this, because it's not a super well-known story necessarily. All right, so we're going to talk about Alexandra. She goes by Alex. So at the time of her murder, she was an 18-year-old freshman student at SUNY Brockport in Brockport, New York. It's about 15 minutes west of Rochester, New York. So Alex was on the swim team in both high school and college. She was very well liked by her teammates and her friends. In the Dateline interview, they interviewed a couple of her friends. I think one of her friends' moms, I don't know if her parents wanted to interview for it. And everyone, of course, talked about her very highly, very likable, sweet person, had a good heart.
Do you ever think about, like, if you got murdered, who they would interview for you on Dateline? It would be me and Bobby.
I think about this a lot.
I think the same thing. Like, if I got murdered, it would just be, like, you and Casey. Maybe my mom. She'd be too distraught, I think.
I do think about how pretty much every murder story you hear where there is an interview, people who are murdered, they are, of course, talked about in a positive way. It's very rare that people are going to shit on them. I don't know. I'd almost want you to, like, keep those interviewers, like, on your toes a little bit. They'd be like, describe Harmony for us. Well, she was kind of like a pain in the ass. She was super controlling. She angry so easily, like, kind of hard to be around.
She had these really big gums.
The biggest gums you've ever seen.
So much hubba bubba all the time.
All right, so, yes, she was a SUNY Brockport on the swim team. Alex had been dating her boyfriend, Clayton Whittemore, for about a year and a half at this point in time. Mm-hmm. Clayton Whittemore was a 21-year-old student at Utica College. This is about 2.5 hours from the SUNY Brockport campus. Alex and Clayton met in their hometown of New Hartford in central New York. They were actually dating not in high school. Alex was still in high school and Clayton had just started college when they met and they started dating, and they were basically in a long distance relationship. So they, when Alex started college, they basically had to figure out how they could go see each other, spend time on weekends, etc. From everyone's point of view, and of course these are very young kids too, Alex and Clayton seem very much in love, happy with each other. That's what most people are going to say about a relationship they don't actually know that much about. And when you're basically teenagers, and a 21-year-old might as well be a teenager at this point.
I mean, maturity-wise, like, they're college students.
Yes, exactly. So the two of them often communicated via Twitter so this is 2012.
Oh, Twitter was Twitter.
Yeah, when Twitter was Twitter, and you would basically just tag people to, like, text them, and then everyone could see, you know what I'm talking about. So after the week leading up to when Clayton would visit Alex in SUNY Brockport, the two exchanged several messages back and forth, saying they were excited to see each other, a bunch of different stuff. You can, see all of these actual exchanges online. All right, so Friday, September 28th, 2012, Clayton arrives at SUNY Brockport to visit Alex.
Okay.
So she's living in a dorm, and he's going to stay with her for the weekend. They spend some time together in Alex's dorm room initially, and then after that, they go to have dinner, and then they end the evening by hanging out with friends at a house party.
Okay.
Very typical, college evening. And then they end up returning to Alex's dorm after all this. Something really interesting. So at 12:13 a.m., Alex posts a concerning tweet that just says, "Should have known."
Whoa.
She's 18 years old. This could be, drama.
Yeah.
Like, when I go back and look at my fucking Facebook memories, I say shit like that all the time. So.
Mine is so cringy.
Yeah. It sounds a little cryptic, but it could have been anything else.
I feel like 2012 was also the era of oversharing.
Oh, or absolutely. The internet was still, like, raw and new in a weird way.
Yeah, and, like, everybody kind of wanted attention.
Absolutely.
And so you'd post shit like that, so people would, like, message you or text you or call you and be like, oh my god, what's wrong?
Up? Yeah. I did it all the time. My friends did it all the time. I also, like, I would do this thing where, like, I would have a fight with someone or I'd be mad at a guy or whatever, and I would post about it because I want them to see it.
Oh, yeah.
Then don't give a shit.
I feel like it's the same as, like, setting your AIM away message.
Yes.
Except it's more public because everybody on the internet can see what you're saying.
On your AIM away message, you just quote Evanescence or something, like...
Yes, Avril Lavigne.
Yes. All right, so toning back down a little bit here. Shortly after she sends this tweet, Alex and Clayton return to her dorm. This is unfortunately the last time that Alex is seen alive.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to skip around a little bit here.
Mm-hmm.
So around 3 a.m. on Saturday, September 29th, so this is early morning after the evening that Alex and Clayton spent time together, University police, so not the actual state police, University police were called to respond to a welfare check because Alex's mother, Becky Kogut, was concerned she could not reach her daughter. So this is a normal thing for, I guess, university police to do. I did go to a big college in Texas. I don't remember this being a thing, but I know we had campus police.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she calls someone to try and get in contact with campus police because she's very concerned she cannot reach Alex.
Mm-hmm.
Upon entering Alex's dorm room 108 in McLean Hall, police find a young female college student with long dark hair face down inside on the floor. The room is splattered with blood in all areas. It's on the floor, it's on the furniture, and there are a pair of bloody footprints that are noticeable on the dorm room carpet.
Holy shit.
The officers describe it as a particularly gruesome scene, obviously depicting violence. It's not something they were used to seeing on campus. All right, so according to police, they were unable to confirm whether the identity of the woman was Alex because the woman was beaten beyond recognition.
That poor girl.
It's very bad. They were also confused about her identity because she had photos scattered around her room, framed photos of her and Clayton or just her and her friends, and her hair is much lighter. So they don't know if this is Alex.
Oh.
Because they can't recognize her face, and her hair is very dark brown, and in the photos her hair is almost blonde.
Yeah, that's okay. Like,
so,
she had just recently dyed her hair or something?
Yes, but they kind of have to go off what they have.
Yeah.
And they're wondering, because she did have a roommate who wasn't staying there that night, they're wondering if this is that roommate, and Alex is now missing.
Oh, God.
So, like I said, I'm going to jump around here. So, police notice a photo in the dorm room of Alex and a man that they actually recognize.
Mm-hmm.
They recognize him because they had given him a ticket earlier that very evening. So on campus patrol earlier that night, they came across this man and his girlfriend, who is Alex, they don't know her at this time, walking together, and the man had an open beer bottle. So they gave him a ticket for an open container, but the police said that he was very polite and cooperative with the officers. He did not give them any problems. When Clayton and the woman began walking away, the officer said that Clayton threw the empty beer can on the ground. They told Clayton, "You need to pick that up or you're going to face another fine." Clayton complied. However, something a little bit strange, as they're walking away, he picks up the beer bottle. He actually moves over to the other side of the street. So him and Alex are walking on opposite sides of the street.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah. So they kind of have an idea that this couple may be arguing. There's something else going on here. He's pissed off. He wants space. So they're walking in parallel, but they have the street separating them.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going back again to murder scene. So again, at this point, police are simply just trying to piece together who the victim is because they still are unsure if this is Alex, and what the hell is going on because they don't have a lot of evidence here, and these are campus police.
Yeah, they don't. They're not experiencing this at all.
No, and that's why in the interview they were like, we don't see this kind of stuff. We were not expecting this by any means. Obviously, they do involve the local police very quickly. Yes, they turn this into. The moment they walk in there and realize what's going on, they're like, all right, this is a crime scene. Call the police.
Good. Okay.
Yep. So the campus police, who are now communicating with the detective who's assigned to the case, they told him that they had one homicide victim and one woman missing because they are still under the impression that Alex is missing and this is the other roommate. Yeah. And they think that Alex could be in danger. So the detective is like getting out of bed, rushing to this scene. He thinks top priority is we got to find this woman that's missing.
Yeah.
However, thankfully, I guess you could kind of say, they actually don't have to wait very long to start piecing this stuff together because 911 dispatchers shortly after this get a call, and I'm going to just quote what the guy on the phone says. Mm-hmm. "Yes, my name is Scott Whittemore. My son Clayton just called me and told me he killed somebody. He's talking about killing himself too." So Clayton's dad got a phone call from Clayton and is now calling 911 saying, "I'm pretty sure my son just killed someone."
Well, I guess at least he's admitting to the crime.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Great.
So 911 dispatchers are speaking with Scott, Clayton's father, also Clayton's mother, Sandra. They're trying to figure out where Clayton is and how to get a hold of him, because after this conversation with Clayton and his dad, Scott, he can't get a hold of Clayton anymore. He's not answering his phone. So moments later, 911 dispatchers are able to get in contact with the local police who are responding to this situation.
Okay.
They are all trying to piece all this separate information together, which they're actually able to do pretty quickly. When you think about this stuff, it's like, okay, you get a 911 call. I don't know how this stuff works. It's like, how do they then figure out who they need to contact to, you know, figure all this shit out? I know they have a whole system. It's just kind of wild that they were able to do it so quickly. So, another turn in the story. Not long after this, around 4 a.m., 911 dispatchers receive a new call from Clayton. He's at a rest stop on the New York State Thruway, somewhere near Oneida.
Oh, throwback.
Just talked about Oneida. He says, I'm turning myself in. I did something that I can't take back, and I just got to turn myself in.
Does he turn himself in?
He does.
Okay.
So investigators are now speaking directly with Clayton. When he turns himself in over the call, I believe he stays at the place that he called from.
Okay.
They arrest him immediately. They take him to the police station. Questioning begins. This next part, if it wasn't bad before, it gets really bad. You're really going to hate him and other people.
Great.
So he explains that at the house party that him and Alex were at the previous evening, you know, they'd attended dinner, went to this house party, and he explained that he had become angry with Alex based on her behavior. This quote is very 20-year-old relationship drama.
I'm sure.
When I'd say anything to her, you know, she'd like raise her voice or something. But if anybody else said anything to her, she'd be all smiley and giggly. Literally just juvenile relationship crap.
Okay, I've had those days where, like, there's one person pissing me off. Yeah, I'm gonna raise my fucking voice.
Yeah, sure.
Don't murder me over it.
Exactly.
Please.
Right. So then, on their way back to Alex's dorm, he got the ticket that we talked about earlier for the open container, which sent him into a further rage. So he's basically explaining why he was angry.
Oh, that's so scary, dude.
Yeah.
She was probably freaked out.
So once they were back in the dorm room, Clayton told investigators the pair started to fight, bringing up old arguments like allegations of cheating, and he said Alex began to physically push him. Alex is tiny. She's probably 100 pounds, maybe a little bit more. When you look at pictures and video of Clayton, he's a really big guy. Very square jaw, like militaristic, straight line kind of person. All of a sudden, I just snapped, he says. I hit her back.
Ugh.
So this is where... I keep saying this is where it gets bad. It just keeps
getting worse and worse.
But this is the reason that this story really stuck out to me. This part in particular, because of just how horrible it is. He continued to savagely beat his girlfriend until he noticed her breathing had become labored, and he decided that, much like, quote, watching an animal suffer, he needed to finish her off.
What the fuck?
Quote, because, you know, I was someone you love, I'm not going to watch them sit there and suffer.
Maybe don't fucking punch them in the first place?
That's why I did it, Clayton said. He, quote, didn't even think about getting help for his girlfriend. So she was still alive when he chose to kill her, and he could have called 911 for an ambulance to come. He still would have obviously been charged with something. Doesn't really matter.
But she wouldn't be dead.
Anyways. Yes.
The fuck?
Yeah. That's why this story just like really fucking stuck out to me like crazy. So one more quote from him. You know, I'm turning myself in for what I did. The man who called you is the man who should turn himself in, Clayton told the dispatcher, referring to his father, Scott.
What?
So he goes on to say he'd witnessed and suffered abuse his entire life. This is not in any way, and he does actually say, he says, I'm not trying to create an excuse.
It sure sounds like it.
Right, exactly. Maybe trying to create sympathy for himself.
Yeah.
However, there is validity in what he's saying. So, really quick, I'm gonna say this part, and I'll talk a bit more about it. So this is a quote from him. I saw it all. I watched my brother get beat with a baseball bat by my own father. I watched my own father break my sister's nose, throw my own mother down to the ground, and beat her. I watched him try to shove a remote controller down the throats of all his children for fingerprints on his car. And Clayton's sister later does confirm these abuse allegations.
That is heartbreaking, but
it's heartbreaking. And he basically is saying, so there's this weird apology that later on he sent to Alex and her family.
Is this the dad or is this...
No, this is Clayton.
Okay.
So he says, sorry to the family and you. Nothing will ever fix or undo what I did. I became my father. There is a part of you, like, I don't want to say feel sympathy, because you don't. Like, you don't feel sympathy, but you understand what he's trying to say.
Yeah.
He grew up in a horribly abusive situation, and that was how he was taught to deal with his emotions.
Yeah.
And he is a big man and has the ability to do the same thing.
Like,
so, yeah.
Your trauma, the things that you experience, is not your fault, but the way that you handle it is your responsibility.
Yeah, you're responsible for becoming a better person than the people who raised you.
Yeah.
That is your responsibility. And it's true for really intense stuff like this, but it's also true for smaller stuff. Like your parents who are closet racists, and they're not really racist, but they say shit, and you're like, oh, you are a bit racist. You're responsible for being better than them.
Yeah. No, I definitely stole that from Marcus Parks of last podcast. He uses it in, like, because he has, he's bipolar. So he uses it in reference of that, of, like, your mental health isn't your fault, but it's your responsibility.
Yeah, it's so true. So even when it comes to, like, we're going off on a tangent here, but even, like, with ADHD, and I'm not trying to call him out by any means, but because he's done a wonderful job of figuring it out, but, like, my husband Bobby has really bad ADHD, and I used to kind of, you know, give him a little bit of slack for it, and he would do the same and, you know, make excuses about it, and then it finally came down to a point where it was like, I understand that that's a problem, but you're responsible for figuring out how to cope with it.
Yeah.
I have really bad anxiety. I get angered very quickly from it. I get overwhelmed very, very quickly. I'm trying to get better. It's hard. Medication and therapy helps. But it's my responsibility to, at the very least, communicate to the people around me. Like, and that's been the hardest part, is when I'm going through a panic attack or getting really overstimulated, just saying, like, I'm hungry. I don't feel good. I'm overstimulated. Bear with me.
Yeah.
Like, it's your responsibility to be better.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I have nothing to say. I'm perfect.
It's
I have
true.
no issues.
Yeah, it's hard living in her limelight.
It really is. It's actually, I guess it's green. Yeah, it's limelight.
It's hard living in your green light.
Thank you.
All right, so the good news is, which, I mean, there's literally no leeway for him to not be convicted.
Yeah.
So Clayton was convicted with second-degree murder, charged with 25 years to life in prison.
Wow.
Yeah. I still don't think that's enough. I know it's 25 years to life, but I would love the old 100 and whatever years to life, you know, kind of a thing. So something interesting, this is a quote from one of the articles that I'll post links for. So although they were never allowed during the trial, Meredith Vaca, an assistant district attorney from Monroe County at the time, told Dateline Secrets Uncovered that Alex had saved more than 30 voicemails from Clayton that were all of that aggressive, controlling nature.
Oh.
So, you know, like I said earlier, from everyone's point of view, this was a healthy, happy relationship, as much as a young relationship can be. But obviously, when you come from an abusive home and you are an abusive person, especially if you're a man that has the ability to be physically abusive and he hasn't gotten the help he needs, he's probably still very close with his family. Like, yeah, this shit is still very much going on. So that's essentially the whole story. A couple small things to add at the end. So in the aftermath of Alex's death, a friend of Alex, her name was Paige, and her mother Whitney, Paige had been on the swim team with Alex, they actually started a charitable foundation called Purple Pinkies, and this is to raise awareness about domestic violence and encourage women to show solidarity by painting their pinky fingernail purple. Very sweet. I believe they're really still operating to this day. I looked up, looks like they have a Facebook page as their main website. And this is something from Paige, the friend I just mentioned. For the rest of my life, whenever I see purple, I will think of her. Whenever I hear a story of any type of domestic violence, I will think of her and I will not stop telling her story.
Aww.
Very, very sweet of her friend. Her friend was interviewed on Dateline, said a lot of really sweet things about her, and, you know, just kind of emotional about the entire thing.
Of course.
Because there was this waiting period where they were all being notified that someone was dead in Alex's dorm room, but they didn't know if it was Alex or not. So there was like a couple of hours where no one actually knew if Alex was alive. But yeah, that sort of really stuck out to me because that one part where it was saying that, you know, it's one thing for someone to lose control of their emotions, become abusive with someone, but then to stop. But he chose to kill her.
Yeah.
He made the decision that this is what I'm doing versus calling to see if he could even remotely save her, which he might have been able to. You never know.
No, that's horrible, dude.
Yeah, so really, really awful story.
Thanks for bringing a fucking bummer onto the podcast. What the fuck? This is Make It Weird, not Make Me Sad.
That's It's gonna be
Banned.
our next podcast.
Make me sad.
Make me sad.
Oh.
But yeah, it's an important one too, though. Just a reminder, if you are someone that's suffering from domestic violence, domestic abuse, there's resources out there. There's domestic violence hotline.
Yeah.
I'll post that in our story notes, but there's lots of things out there. You can always leave. You can always talk to people. There's always choices. There's always ways out. They're really, really hard and scary and difficult, but there's people out there that want to help you.
One of the biggest reasons that women in abusive relationships don't leave is actually their pets. It's not having access to a shelter that allows animals or somebody to care for the animals while they're in bad situations.
Yeah.
I cannot remember the name of the freaking charity, but there is a charity that works towards making sure that people that are in situations like that have animals are able to get the support that they need, whether it's, shelter in a place that has animal, that allows animals to be there, or money to help get a sitter or something along those lines. If we find that, we should put that in the show notes too. Yeah. And if it's not real, then somebody should do that, because I think that's very important.
And we're making it your responsibility, you the listener.
It's not your fault, but it is your responsibility.
That's not the title of our episode.
Yeah, I think so.
It's not your fault, but it is your responsibility.
I think it's a good one.
Yeah, I think that's a really good one. Good stuff, though.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. That was a really good story. It was really sad.
Yeah.
Thanks for breaking my heart.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we do here at Make It Weird. We make it weird. We make it sad. We make it horrible. We make it hard to listen to. And we hope all two of you keep coming back for more.
Please, God, keep me back. Hey, don't forget to follow us on social media.
Yep.
Instagram, Threads, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, I think, as well.
Literally any podcast platform that you can think of, we're on there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Give us feedback. Let us know the good, the bad, the ugly.
All of these things help so much. Like I mentioned a couple episodes ago, Haley and I are just two people who like learning about weird shit. We have full-time jobs. This is something we do purely for fun, and we're having a really good time with it, but we'd love to reach more people. And
absolutely.
Yeah, so if you enjoy this, in any way, shape, or form, we'd love for you to click subscribe on YouTube or follow on Spotify, leave us a comment, rate us on Spotify, rate us on YouTube, send us a letter in the mail with 5 gold stars.
What I'd like to ask the congregation, your friends, your family, those that don't listen, get one person, tell one person of the love of Make It Weird. Thank you. I'd been holding that in for a while.
I could tell it wanted to come out. Thank you. Praise Jesus. Praise the Lord.
Praise Satan.
Satan, his holiest and most mighty. We love you.
Hail Satan, Archangelo. Keep on
making it weird. Bye.